Folks, out in the orchard here, because a lot of you have been emailing and asking me, show us what's happening in your orchard. Well, we're out here now. I've been coming out here harvesting and all things like that. The irrigation's been on, and if you have a look, I'm not sure how it's going to show up on the camera, but you'll see the rows where the trees are. The grass is green, relatively green, by comparison to between the rows of trees where it's completely dry. So the trees are getting their water, although they got hit hard with pear and cherry slug. Now that's something that got away from me, because when I got out here, by the time I did see them, and it was a bit too late, so most of the trees got decimated, and you'll be able to see it later on as we go through. We'll go through a few trees and I'll show you some of the problems. And another thing, talk about pruning and harvesting. So we're standing next to this one here, which is a 4-far pippin apple. You can see how it's fourth year now. Now remember, we're out in the middle of nowhere by comparison to a lot of backyards, and weather conditions are pretty harsh, so it's done pretty well for the age, and we've got a fair decent amount of apples on that. Now this has already got its summer growth on it. Here, see all this? Now on a larger tree, and we'll see some later on, you need to bring them right down. This will need to be pruned as well, but I can get away with not pruning this now. And we're talking about a summer/autumn prune, because some varieties ripen later than others. Now this one here, is it ripe and ready? Yes it is, see that? Just comes out off so easily. It's a half turn. Oh, not even a half turn. These are ripe and ready to go. So we're gonna do a harvest, because as you're watching this, the day after we filmed it, we're going to hit 39, 40 degrees with high northerly winds, northwesterly winds. So these trees are going to cop a beating. So the irrigation is on as we speak. So for those who are watching it, they would have had at least 12 to 15 hours of drip system running through them to get them hydrated and be ready for the big high winds coming through. This is another apple tree, Antoinette, sorry. Now this, I don't remember if I harvested from it. Doesn't look like it. And we've got some spur-bearing or fruit-bearing spurs appearing here, I should say. Just across here, there's a few starting to develop, and it looks like we did pick some fruit off this. So, you know, I can't remember all of them, but let's talk about the actual shape of this tree. What's going on? Anyway, a bit of a domestic going on there. Kara's been telling the little one, hey, it's okay. All right, go. So this tree here now, if it was a larger tree, like I said earlier, a lot taller, you want to prune it right back down. So this is the summer growth. That's how much growth this tree has put on over the last spring-summer period. And that's a lot of growth. And if you leave that on there, what's going to happen with this is basically it'll keep shooting up. Some of these little buds here will activate along the sides here. Some will become fruit bearers. Others will just become spurs and shoots, and they'll just grow out and continue growing and become a big bush. So leaving it like that is way too long, and what I suggest is bringing it down to at least half the height and sort of judge it, because the tree, every tree is different in shape and size. You can try and prune them to become identical, and it can be quite easily done, but it's a very tedious, long time practice that you need to put into it. Otherwise, eventually they'll all just grow out of shape again. Now with this, if I'm going to prune this right down, I'm going to look at the length that I've got across there, and the general rule of thumb is basically working on 3 levels. So you can either go from your knee, waist, chest, shoulder and above your head. So they're the cutting points or the levels. Or you can work at 40, 50 centimetres, pull out a tape measure and knock yourself out. We took the centre out of this one, well I did, because this was going straight up down the middle and creating an open vase shape, and slowly it's happening. You can see this branch in here, it's growing inwards, sort of inwards. If I want to keep it going, I'm going to have to try and prune it in a way so I can get the bud that I want to face outwards to activate. And to do that, you basically got to cut it down about there, let's say, just above the bud. And I didn't position myself properly, but okay, so that can grow out. Now, if I don't want this to grow out anymore, to fill in this gap, because remember, every time you cut a branch, you get multiple branches from that cut at the end of it. For example, here we had 3 come up. We had the cut done over here, and that activated these buds here. They were here once upon a time and they became shoots. So they've taken off, so did this one here. So there's 3 out of the 1 branch. Now I've cut this back, this can become 2 or 3 again. And remember, it's not only going to grow from the one side, it'll actually grow from the inside as well. Now when that happens and you've got a branch that's facing inwards and you don't want it to continue growing inwards, you can either A, remove it completely down at the base here, right there level, or just off level, don't go flush against it, you want it to heal properly. Or B, look for a bud that you want to cut to to a length, and generally speaking 2 or 3. Now this one here in the background, see that one there? See that there? That's got the possibility of becoming a fruiting bud. It looks like the backside of a spider, sort of a furry spider. So that we can actually try and force it, or trick it, let's say, to grow. Now Craig, this is your tip, and I'm sharing it with everyone. And it's basically doing an undercut. So you can cut just below the next bud above, and it's way above that bud. Unlike what we normally do conventionally, is cutting right next to it at an angle, same angle as the bud's pointing. In this case, I've cut further away, causing this now to think it's going to die off. Well, the tree's going to die off because it's got nowhere for the sap to flow. So that'll start to develop canker on it. It's a dieback, slow dieback. It's not a really bad one to worry too much. Once that starts dying back, the tree thinks it is dying, so it's going to activate that bud. Hopefully, it's not 100%, but activate it to become a flowering bud. So that starts to produce flowers and eventually fruit. So this will never grow. And then later on, you basically cut off the dieback, and you've got that bud there for pretty much indefinitely, as long as you don't destroy it. And you'll get fruit from that spot all the time. But that practice is best done in winter, basically, so you're preparing the tree for spring. You can do some of it now, but I wouldn't go the full hog on it now. What I'd be focusing now on is bringing down the height and thinning it out a little bit. So in this case here, we've got something around about there, so we're going to go about shoulder, just above. Now you can choose to cut inwards, outwards, or just anywhere, because you're going to come back in winter and clean these up. So for example, I could just do an undercut like that, cause that to try and become a flowering bud for me, but that's not what I want to do with this branch. Ultimately, this branch is growing inwards, wrong direction. Have to cut it down to 2 or 3 buds and try to get it to fruit. But for now, as I said, for summer, we just go around and bring it all down to a similar height as we need to. Don't worry too much about it, because if you've got 150 trees in one area and another 100 in another area, you're going to go nuts sitting there looking at every single little bud and height, and bring that down a little bit more. That's a nice, simple summer prune. Now practice that on the larger scale, and it's going to take a lot longer, but the whole theory is just bring it down to arm's reach. So you don't want your tree pruned at the part where you can only reach to the tip of it. So arm's reach, I should say, a sort of loose arm, sort of just above your headline is where you want to be, because with every new growth, that's going to shoot off, like you saw before, 2 or 3 feet above again. And if you don't prune it, well, you're going to be needing a ladder eventually. Oh, look at this. Look at this tree compared to this tree here. They've all had similar prunes. This is taken off like wildfire. Look at the trunk, the caliper on the trunk, and there's a drip system. You can just see it there now. Here we are, because the bloody rabbits keep coming in and digging up. And is it dripping? Yes, it is. It's doing its job. And one thing about this tree here, folks, well, 2 things. A, remember the garden groups that we had coming through the place? We did our workshops on pruning fruit trees. Well, some of you who are watching were out here pruning, and the results of your pruning, voila, look at the fruit on this. Now, I don't go thinning out my trees. That's just my way. A lot of people like to thin them out because they like to get bigger apples. See these ones here? Look at that. They're 3 apples clustered together. They're rubbing on each other. And you're going to say, yeah, see, that's the result of, oh, one's fallen, one's gone down, and of having 3 apples so close to each other that they can't grow bigger. Can you see this? I want you to look at that. See these? All right, a little bit of marks there, who cares? So they're tiny apples, but wait, have a look at this. Clusters, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in one bunch. A half twist. Oh, it's not ready to let go. It's got to be. Yeah. Now this is the same tree. Have a look. Try and get these off. We've got earwigs nesting in there. That's another thing about it. When you leave too many apples or fruit on a tree in clusters like that, it's a good spot for them to hide. Like this one in here. There it is. See it? Hey, what are you trying to do, mate? All right, give me a second. Gone. Magic. Have a look at this apple. This is, except for that one there, all these are from the same tree. And they can vary quite dramatically, in size. Now, I've got to pick all these. And this is another shape that you can achieve, folks. This is what I'm talking about with an open vase. It's got a nice sort of structure on it. It's strong, it's stable, slight lean on it because of the high winds we constantly get from one direction. But again, see these little branches here? We cut them back to an undercut, and that way we cause them to actually flower and fruit here. So we get clusters of fruit here, and we get some more over there, and so on and so on. And that way we don't get this overall bushy upright growth. And this is actually done pretty well on the old stock down at the bottom there. New summer growth. You can see where we've done the cuts here. That's where we cut last time, and we've got 3 new shoots coming up there. We've got to sacrifice some of these, cut them right back, and the other ones we're basically going to train again so we can get it to grow outwards more and more. And that's what you want to see, fruit growing along the stem. And if you do enough little short cuts there, you can develop those little fruit-bearing spurs. You'll get fruit like that developing all the way along. So this next springtime, maybe not so much on here, but eventually the spring after, in a couple of years, these will start to fruit here for me as well. Oh, look at this. Apple pie, apple jam, everything's ready, and I'm mixing them all up. Now, folks, I simply cannot eat all these apples, and I can't juice them all without refrigerating them, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to start harvesting, and anybody, go to our website, Vasili'sGarden.com, go to Ask Vasili, send it through. The ladies don't know about this in the office. Surprise them and tell them if you're interested in apples, fresh apples, we don't spray anything here at all, and no chemicals, completely clean, no herbicides at all as well. If you're interested in apples, well, we'll make some available to sell for you guys. So just go to Ask Vasili at Vasili'sGarden.com. They send an email with your details, and we'll get the ladies to contact you and let you know what we have available. I could dare say there's a hell of a lot. These aren't quite ready, but it is top heavy. Look at it, it's fallen over. It's holding on, it hasn't, oh, it has a bit. I can feel the root coming up there, just here. But I'm gonna have to harvest all this. Otherwise, tomorrow's wind, they're not quite ready. Are they ready? Esopus, what? Springsteen. Spitzenberg. Esopus Spitzenberg. It's flowery. It is sweet. Look at the funny colours that are coming through there. So the moisture coming through there. I've just cracked through the flesh. This is nuts. So folks, if you come in and want to get some apples, just don't expect me to be able to tell you what the names are of all of these. There's so many. I am mixing them up now. I just broke the spur, bugger me. So it's just a bag of mixed fruit, apples that is. So a little bit of everything is what you can get. But again, email first. Don't just rock up here because we're not open to the public without an appointment. So, just breaking them all. Check out our website, Vasili'sGarden.com. Tomorrow we're giving away the fruit and grape press, which is worth about $600. So everybody who shops online goes automatically in the draw, so stay tuned for that one. We'll be drawing that tomorrow. So we're doing one a week. And Thebarton, for those in South Australia and able to get out to Thebarton to pick up, click and collect, so you can get your orders in and get all the favourites that we can't ship out otherwise. We'll have them available from the 18th to the 24th, and you can also walk in to the place and shop there as well if you don't shop online. So we'll be there for a week. And what's the other news? Yarra Valley Plant Fair is coming up as well. That's in April, so we'll keep mentioning that as we get closer to it. And our big weekend sale. So it is our autumn sale on at the moment, but I'm going to increase the discount on it so you can get up to 50% off a whole range online, and use the coupon code word AUTUMN to get your discount to activate the full benefits. Vasili'sGarden.com, and I'm frazzled because I've got so much work ahead of me here. But we'll get there. And just before we go, this is the pear and cherry slug damage that is caused on these pear trees, all my pear trees. This is one of them that's actually nowhere near as bad as some other ones. So you can see the damage, it goes black, it becomes a bit of a skeletonized leaf, so all the green sheath's taken off and it's only the veins that are left, the structural part of the leaf. And if you don't treat it, this is what it can look like. Look at this poor bugger. Very much alive underneath, but you can't allow this to happen year on end. So look after your trees, folks. If you get pear and cherry slug, dust them with hydrated lime, dust them with wood ash and other things, or CGWS. All that stuff will help to protect your tree, and hopefully you get more than one fruit off it like this. Maresi, not really, but that's what it is.